When you die, are you truly dead? What if we could capture our thoughts, consciousness, and unique personalities, and let them continue influencing the world, even when we are no longer physically present? Would we then be truly dead? A few years back, I received a heartbreaking phone call. My grandfather in Israel was in urgent care. His life hanging by a thread. Time stood still as I absorbed those news. I wanted to be there to say my goodbyes, hoping the situation was stable enough for my arrival in 2 days. However, life often plays out in ways we don't anticipate. The very next day, he passed away. In Jewish tradition, burial is required within 24 hours of death. I was caught in the cruel limbo of transition. My grandfather was buried while I was mid-air soaring toward the final meeting that have come and gone. I missed his death. His burial, it hit me hard. The loss, the regrets, the unspoken words during this time of profound grief. I came across a book by Dan Eagleman called Some. A quote within it strongly resonated with me. There are 3 deaths. The first is when the body ceases to function. The second is when the body consigns to the grave. The third one is that moment, sometimes in the future, when your name is spoken for the last time. I have missed 2 of these deaths. This revelation became a catalyst for me, setting me on a journey to ensure my grandfather and all my loved ones will not experience this third death and will never be forgotten. Through this personal pain, my journey into exploring and understanding digital immortality began. Every interaction with another person gives birth to a unique persona, an avatar of our identity as perceived by the other. Some of these personas may be strikingly similar, like siblings born of the same genetic material, but each one bears the unique imprints of particular relationships and particular interactions, and therefore they are rarely, if ever, identical. When a person remembers us, they activate a complex network of sensory and emotional inputs. The sound of our voice, the sight of our face, the scent of our presence. This rich tapestry of information forms the blueprint of our identity in their mind, a unique digital signature of our persona as perceived by them. Today, our effort to preserve memories of loved ones are rather narrow. We focus on videos, pictures, and voice recording as primary mediums to capture an essence of a person. Yet, as a study from MIT Media Lab has shown, these mediums, while significant, capture only a fraction of our sensory experience. Current technology must provide us with the ways to encapsulate and communicate other subtle aspects of our memory experience. The touch, the scent, and even the feelings and thoughts associated with a person. These elements of our memory are deeply visceral and emotionally charged. However, we need a way to communicate those and preserve those moments for prosperity. Moreover, our memory captures only the persona as perceived by the person capturing the memory. It's a snapshot of our identity from one specific point of view. The same snapshot and memory will trigger different emotional responses in different people, underscoring the subjective nature of memory and perception. Written or narrated accounts can bridge the gap between the objective snapshot and the subjective experience, the memory. Yet, this process is indirect and heavily dependent on the writer or narrator skill and eloquence. Imagine a picture of a young child beaming on a carousel. The snapshot captures the visual, the child expression, the vibrant colors, the blowing backdrop suggesting motions. Yet, the underlying story might differ depending on who is recounting it. Mom might remember the feeling of joy, the anxiety of ensuring her child's safety, and the exhaustion at the end of the day. The photo for her is a portal to a rush of vivid sensory and emotional memories that cannot be adequately communicated by the photo itself. The child, on the other hand, looking back at the photo years later, might not recall all those details, but might have the sense of joy and freedom they felt as the carousel rolled around. In this case, the mother or the child, written or narrated account, can add depth to the flat, objective snapshot, bringing back the richness and the sensory of emotions that they experienced. But, again, is limited by the narrator eloquence and mostly the listener emotional connection. As you can see, transforming the full spectrum of memories, contextual dimensions, remains a challenge we must address in our journey towards comprehensive memory preservation. A survey by Stanford University found that over 80% of people would prefer a broader, more comprehensive approach to memory preservation, including all sensory inputs, emotions, and thoughts. However, we still need to achieve this level of sophistication in memory preservation technology. Beyond the complexity of human identity and memory preservation, an even more profound question returns to our concept of life and death. What happened to our soul when the physical body ceased to function? If the body, the hardware, dies, does that mean that the software, consciousness, soul, and intellect needs to die as well? We need to redefine our understanding of life and death in this context. We consider a person alive based on physical parameters, such as pulse, brain activity, and responsiveness. However, what if the physical body is no longer a prerequisite for life? What if we couldn't see, or if all our senses were cut off, and perhaps we had no mobility? In our current understanding, people in such conditions, like those who are blind or in coma, are still considered alive. So where do we draw the line? What is the threshold of preservation we must cross to consider ourselves alive? Would an AI chatbot imbued with our personality suffice? How about a self-aware 3D holographic representation of us that can interact in the real world in real time? Will that be enough? The answer to this question lies in the intersection of technology, philosophy, ethics, and religion. As technology evolves unprecedentedly, we must grapple with those problematic questions earnestly, continue the dialogue and exploration on this topic. Preserving a person goes far beyond capturing visual and auditory data. It's about safeguarding a complex, multidimensional tapestries of personas, each uniquely woven based on experience, thoughts, and emotions. Each of you, looking back at me right now, embodies a rich universe of experience, emotions, and thoughts. These are the stories that make you, well, you. Imagine that you could leave behind not just a static name or an image, but a living, dynamic representation of who you are. Starting this journey might seem daunting, but remember, the longest journeys begin with the simplest steps. Begin by recording the moments of your life, but not just in videos and photographs. Record them in narratives. Describe your feelings, your thoughts, the ambience around you. And as technology evolves, consider more comprehensive approaches like LiDAR 3D scans, DNA analysis, and even the unique chemistry of your body scent. Every bit adds another layer to your digital legacy. Reflect upon that pivotal moment, the phone call that steered my pursuit for digital immortality. Understand that life is unpredictable. Each day, each moment is an opportunity. So I want to pose all these questions to you. What will be the catalyst that drives you to consider your digital footprint? What legacy will you leave behind in this brave new digital world? How will you remember your loved ones after they are gone? And how will they remember you? Let's embark on this exploration together. In our collective quest for digital eternity, we might discover more about our living, breathing selves than we could ever imagine.